18 December 2018, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, laid before a joint sitting of the National Assembly the 2019 Appropriation Bill, which contains the estimates of revenue and expenditure of the Federation for the 2019 fiscal year in the aggregate sum of 8,836,636,575,915 naira only. The budget proposal is aimed at consolidating the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, ERGP, of the government. Legislative action. The Senate debated on the general principles of the bill on Wednesday 13th and Tuesday 19th March 2019, read it a second time, and consequently referred same to the committee for further legislative action. In view of the short time given to the committee to process the bill and report back, the Senate and the House of Representatives Committees on Appropriation made and drew up a work plan which was approved by the leadership to guide the processing of the bill. In addition, the committee engaged its subcommittees on the approved work plan guideline provided for the processing of the bill and were urged to adhere to it. Furthermore, a one-day public hearing on the bill was conducted on Wednesday, 27 March 2019, to gain additional information from heads of MDS, as well as receive inputs from stakeholders, government, and citizens groups. Revenue projection for 2019 budget. In preparing this budget report, the committee adopted the medium-term expenditure framework, so fiscal strategy paper, MTEP, approved by the National Assembly as shown below. Of course, the daily production was retained as 2.3 million barrels per day, and it was National Assembly approved same. Benchmark oil price $60 per barrel. It was retained $60 per barrel. Exchange rate $305 305 naira per dollar. It was also retained. I want to say that this is the first time, virtually in the life of this National Assembly, when benchmark presented by executive was not increased or tampered with. We maintained the $60 per barrel which was presented by the executive. Highlights of the 2019 Appropriation Bill is as stated below, stating the aggregate expenditure, statutory transfers, fiscal deficit, special intervention, recurrent expenditure, capital expenditure, and deficit to GDP, as stated in this paragraph. There is a slight increase in the budget deficit. This is as a result of the provision for the severance benefits of the outgoing legislators and legislative aides, the induction and orientation, as well as inauguration of new legislators, all of which occur only once in 4 years, but were inadvertently not captured in 2019 budget proposal. There was also the need to provide more funds for the security and intelligence agencies to deal with additional emerging unforeseen security challenges in the country. Prayer or recommendation. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, having thoroughly examined the reports and recommendations of the subcommittees and inputs received from the public at the National Budget Public Hearing, the committee hereby recommend that the Senate do consider and approve a bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund or the Federation. Senate Leader. Do I continue?
You are talking money.
Yeah, money.
Go ahead.
A bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund or the Federation, the total sum of 8,906,099,373 naira only, of which 502,892,964 naira only is for statutory transfers. 2,254,014,113,002 naira only is for debt service. 4,052,940,383,684 naira only is for the current non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 2,094,950,790,632 naira only is for the contribution to the development fund for capital expenditure. In line with the provisions of Section 318 of the Constitution of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, this bill will run for a course of 12 months, starting from the date it is assented to. Mr. President, before I conclude this report, I want to bring additional prayer, which will be included in this bill. Following the resolution of this Senate, that a provision of 10 billion naira should be provided to assist the victims of the Zamfara crisis, the Appropriation Committee hereby recommend that 10 billion naira be added to the already stated aggregate expenditure, and that 10 billion naira will be included in the service-wise vote. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I hereby submit our recommendations for your consideration and approval. On behalf of the Appropriation Committee, I wish to thank Mr. President of the Senate and the entire Senate leadership for the support given to the committee in processing this bill. I also wish to appreciate the cooperation and understanding of the subcommittees throughout the period of the working on the bill by this committee. Thank you very much. I thank you all. Thank you.
Contribution, if not, leader. Yes, and Bintamasi.
Supposed to be in the service-wide vote. I was thinking, we don't know the quantum of money in that service-wide vote. But instead of adding another 10 billion into that service-wide vote, I was thinking that fund should come in from the service-wide votes given to the people. But I think we just needed a clarification because they said 10 billion should be added to the service-wide vote. So one, how much is it within the service-wide vote? And why is it that we have to add another 10 billion instead of deducting 10 billion from the service-wide vote? Thank you, sir.
Danjuma Goje.
It will be added, not subtracted. It means the aggregate deficit will be increased by 10 billion naira. And therefore, it's going to be a separate head inside the service-wide vote. 10 billion naira to support or alleviate the suffering of the victims of Zamfara crisis. Thank you.
Supply to consider the report of the Appropriations Committee.
I now put the questions, starting with the schedules. Schedule A, statutory transfers. Schedule A, statutory transfer, National Judicial Council, Niger Delta Development Commission, Universal Basic Education, National Assembly, Public Complaints Commission, INEC, National Human Rights Commission, total statutory transfer, the total sum of 502,858,892,965 naira for the head of total statutory transfer stands part of schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Schedule Part B, debt service. Debt service, domestic debt, foreign debt, subtotal 2,144,014,113,092. That this sum naira for the head of Part B debt service of schedule stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Sinking fund to retire maturing loans, subtotal 110 billion. Those in favor that this naira stands part of Schedule B. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the sum of 2,254,014,113,092 naira for the head of Part B debt service stands as part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Part C, Schedule C, recurrent non-debt expenditure. Executive, Presidency, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, Ministry of Interior, Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Auditor General for the Federation, Ministry of Communication Technology, Office of the National Security Advisor, Infrastructure Concessionary Regulatory Commission, Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Federal Ministry of Finance, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, Federal Ministry of Transport, Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Ministry of Petroleum Resources, Ministry of Mines and Steel Development, Ministry of Budget and National Planning, National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, Fiscal Responsibility Commission, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, Federal Ministry of Justice, Independent Corruption Practices and Related Offences Commission, Ministry of Niger Delta Services, Federal Ministry of Youth and Sport Development, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, Federal Ministry of Education, Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Environment, National Population Commission. Subtotal of the executive, 2,546,860,857,330 for head of the executive stands part of the Schedule C. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Victims of Zamfara. What do we term it, Chairman? What do you term the Zamfara? Yeah, what is it? Yeah, what is? What do we describe it? What's the terminology?
We can say presidential initiative on Zamfara. Presidential initiative on Zamfara. 171, 172. Or what do you want to put it?
Presidential 108 presidential initiative on victims in Zamfara, 10 billion. Those in favor? Yeah. In Zamfara crisis, 10 billion. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Total CRFL charges of 1,499,000,000.
Even if it is at the risk of taking with house, we better put the appropriate name there. Northeast Development Commission. Otherwise, someone somewhere will go and take money from this and we will have nothing to do because we would have failed in taking the right decision. So I suggest that if it is possible, we discuss, we talk, in fact, immediately with the House that they reflect the same thing. Let it be Northeast Development Commission. Thank you.
And in addition to that, Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, last year, in the same budget, it was the same amount of 45 billion that was allocated or appropriated to Northeast Development Commission. This is a last-minute appeal. Mr. President, it is on record that the destruction inflicted on the Northeast, in fact, Borno State alone, is calculated by international bodies to be $9.2 billion. That translates to over 22.7 trillion naira. Mr. President, we are grateful for the allocation of 45, but I'm appealing that that figure should be rounded up to 60. This is a last-minute appeal.
We should make that Northeast Commission fund. So if you can quickly, Chairman, Appropriation, you can send somebody across to the House as well, so that while they too are considering, they can, on the name for the Northeast Intervention Fund to serve it, Mr. can go. Any other observations before? Yes, Senator Adiola.
This money is just being introduced into this report. Secondly, if this is just being introduced, the aggregate expenditure will go up to 8.16 trillion. That is my own observation.
You were not here when we discussed it. This approved as follows. Schedule Part A, statutory transfer as recommended. Part B, debt service as recommended. Part C, recurrent not debt expenditure as amended. Part D, capital expenditure as amended. Clauses 1 as amended. Clauses 2 to 12 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as amended. Short title as recommended. Long title as amended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation of the total sum of 8,916,964,099,373 naira only, of which 502,058,892,965 naira only is for statutory transfers. 2,254,014,113,092 naira only for debt service. 4,065,940,383,684 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 2,094,9,632 naira only is for the contribution to the Development Fund for Capital Expenditure for the year ending on the 31st day of December 2019, third reading. The bill is read the third time and passed. I want to thank our colleagues, particularly for their understanding and being able for us to be able to meet today's deadline in passing the bill, and thank the Committee of Appropriation, and hope that with this budget passed, that the Executive will also ensure full implementation of the budget for the benefit of Nigerians as a whole. By 2 p.m. at room 112, Senate New Building, signed Senator Obinagba. Also announcement of